Do you ever feel like you're not making progress toward your goals, no matter how hard you try? It can be frustrating and demotivating, but luckily there are a few ways to improve your productivity and start making real progress. In this podcast, we'll discuss 10 habits that can help you skyrocket your productivity and crush your goals.
Hey, we're Britt and Chris Carmichael, and you're listening to the Elevated Life Podcast. Throughout the 16 years we've been together, we've never ceased in our endless quest to better ourselves.
We've studied top experts, philosophers, and gurus. After years of personal self-experimentation and working with thousands of clients, we've found the tools for shifting your beliefs, moving through fears, and developing a positive mindset that aligns with your authenticity, integrity, and soul purpose, regardless of your past.
If you're ready for a breakthrough, then you're in the right place, because we're here to empower you to take control of your life with simple mindset shifts that create radical transformation.
We'll be diving into topics like personal growth, health, philosophy, spirituality, relationships, success, and mindfulness. We don't shy away from the taboo topics like sex, hypnosis, meditation, and exploring altered states of consciousness.
So create some space for yourself and get comfy. It's time to become the badass you were born to be. Woohoo! It feels so good to be back. I can't believe it's been an entire month since we took a break from the podcast. We went away to Colorado to host a goddess retreat, and we've taken time to relax and integrate, and now we are back in the saddle, and it feels so good to be sharing our wisdom. If you haven't heard, last week's episode was all about interviewing this incredible doctor about Chinese medicine. It's so cool to be able to showcase everybody's wisdom and see that we all have different goals for ourselves. So coming back to the podcast, we feel so renewed and ready to share so much more wisdom. But most importantly, we've taken time to really reflect on who we are, where we're going, what's important to us, what our boundaries are, and what our values are. And it's so important to get clear on what it is that brings you joy, what lights you up, what goals are you going after in life. Having that clarity helps you to be able to know what action to take, especially even when you don't have confidence in yourself. When you have clarity in where you're going, you can kind of fumble your way through it. So we're really pumped to share our 10 ways on how to skyrocket that productivity. And it always starts with doing something you love. And this podcast, I love it.
You know, the interesting part is that getting time away does give you the clarity. A lot of people are always looking to improve their lives in a bunch of ways, but what ends up happening is because they're in their life, they're always working in their life, they're caged in by the normalcy of everything. Nothing really changes. Nothing really happens different. It's always about that getting away that allows us to have the space to really begin to create what it is in the future that we want. So make sure you get the clarity. Once you have the clarity, what's important is for you to build habits. That's why what we're talking about today is habits. The reason why you want to be building habits is because it automates everything for you. It starts to make things easier so that you're used to doing things in a specific way that benefit you. So the first thing that we have for you is to always make a to-do list. This is every day, and the most important part, that is to prioritize the important tasks. Most people have a to-do list. Most people do not prioritize anything on that list, any specific thing. Britt always tells people only 3 goals at once, so only 3 major to-dos on there. Well, maybe you have to pick up the kids at a certain time, maybe you got to make dinner and stuff like that. That's something that's different. That's something off put for the day. What we're talking about specifically is 3 big major tasks that you're working on. Any more than that is going to be overwhelmed for anybody. So make sure that as you get your list out and you're looking over your list, that it's listed in the order of what is the priority. What is the main thing that I need to be focused on? Because we end up often playing busy. It ends up making us do too many things instead of really narrowing it down to the things that we actually need to do.
It's so true. Give yourself permission to brain dump all the things you think you need to do for the day, and then write 1, 2, 3 on your top priority. Because I don't know about you guys, but if you look at your calendar at the end of the day and you've overbooked yourself, you almost feel like, well, shit, I didn't do it all. But if you only put 3 things on the calendar and you knock them all out and you still had room to do those next, few things, you feel like a fucking champion. Which totally ties into number 2, and that's setting specific and measurable goals for yourself. Once you have a clear idea of what you want to achieve, it's so much easier to stay motivated and focused. And the way that I like to do this is to break them down into smaller, manageable goals so that you know that instead of like, my goal is to lose 10 pounds, my goal is to lose 1 pound. That way, once I hit that first step, it gives me motivation, excitement. It proves that whatever I'm doing is working. It helps me to want to stay focused and keep going. To whereas if my goal is to lose 10 pounds and I don't celebrate along the way, I don't say, oop, I lost 1, I'm doing it, I'm so proud of myself, you still feel like you haven't succeeded or you're not doing good work if your goals are too big and too broad. So for me, I like to break down, and I'm just giving one random example. This could be your financial goal, this could be time goal, this could be how much your guests and price. I mean, so many freaking things that you could apply this to. But when you break down bigger goals into smaller ones, it makes it one, more manageable so that you're only doing 3 things at a time. It's called balance, people. And then the other thing is that it helps you to celebrate the small wins along the way, which builds up that dopamine and of like, I can do it, I can go after my goals.
You know, there's an interesting part because you want a big goal. Yes. Like I want to become successful at whatever. That's a big goal with a lot of big little goals. But you also have to make it specific enough so that you can track. It's that tracking portion that makes it so important so that you know, is anything actually happening? Are you moving toward that goal or are you moving further away? I know a lot of people hate the scale. And I'm fine with that. A lot of people throwing the scale away. I think that's empowering for a ton of us. But for me, if I'm gaining or losing weight, I weigh myself once a week. Because if I did it every single day, the fluctuations are going to be too big. But if I do it once, like every Friday, I'm going to know. I'm going to say, okay, well, that worked over the week. Sometimes what we do is we get lost in too much of the daily stuff and don't zoom out enough. So you want goals that what can I be doing today that's really important? And then how does that look on my week? And then how does that look on my month? So you want to, as we're talking about measurable goals, you want a bunch of different ones at different time intervals. So you can say, okay, I was really successful today, but did I screw off the other 4 days of the work week? And that way it'd show up on your weekly check-in. So you want to have measurable things at each little destination that you're going to get to.
Yeah, we call it updating the rules, where we come together once a week and just check in and say, hey, how is everything going? And it's on a micro level harder to do on a day-to-day basis. But when you give yourself a week's time, I don't know about you, but when I'm journaling, like, what was the best part of this week? I'm like, wait, what happened this week? So it gives time for you to actually see the results.
Yes, which carries in greatly to number 3, the next big habit you're going to want to be doing, and that is to use time blocking to schedule your day to maximize this productivity. And that is because when you set aside specific blocks of time for different tasks, you make sure you're getting the most of your time. You're making sure that you're not doing a bunch of things at once. What most of us end up doing is we multitask. We're talking on the phone with one person. We're thinking about what we're going to do later on for dinner. And then we have this other thing that's coming in. And it's we're so scatterbrained, we can't focus down our energy. This is just a way for you to get hyper-focused. So when you set off a block of time, you're saying, all right, I'm going to put my phone down and I'm going to be in this moment thinking about only this thing. We're going to wrap our minds around this. Britt and I do it. I like to think of it like as a SWAT team coming in, right? It's not just a lone cowboy. We got the whole SWAT team coming in on this one idea so that we can brainstorm, so that we can come up with things. And it helps so much because otherwise you end up getting lost in too much of the to-do and wondering, what am I supposed to do next? Instead of going, for 90 minutes, I'm only doing this one thing.
Yeah, and what you're really doing leads us to our 4th tip, and that's eliminating distractions. When you time block, you are putting away social media. You are putting away all the distractions, the phone calls, the procrastination, everything that would normally keep you stuck in that fear rut. You are putting 100% of your focus into that task at hand. So instead of distracting yourself with maybe goals that are good for yourself, like going to the gym like 8 times a week, it might be important for you to time block and eliminate the distractions that are taking you away from your goal. Now, if your goal is if your goal is health, then hey, maybe working out 8 times is right for you. But find where you're putting your find what your distractions are. Find where you're meddling in, maybe watching too much TV or scrolling, or even putting things under the guise of, well, this is good for me, right? But it's not actually moving you towards the goal that you set for yourself.
Gosh, this takes so much awareness. And if you actually sit down and do this exercise and you spend some time, if you really want to do this, spend a week blocking out whatever hours that you did what. So if you read a book for 4 hours at night and you love that, okay, good, 4 hours a night, I read the book. Then you want to be looking at what you did in each time slot. So many of us can be really good at certain portions of our life, and then we totally slack off in others. Also, when you're doing this, you want to leave some room for just total play. So as much as you get into your calendar, make sure that you're always scheduling play. There should be blocks for play at all times because you're going to need time away. And this brings us to our fifth habit to cultivate, and that is to take breaks and prioritize self-care. And you want to be using this so that you can start to avoid burnout. Who cares what you got accomplished in a month if you can't sustain it for a year? This is where a lot of people fail out on their diets. They go too gung-ho, they go too overboard instead of realizing there's always this middle ground. There's always this really comfortable balanced place that we can be at that will allow us to be at the equilibrium where we can not only succeed, but succeed long term. That's where most people fail. A lot of people are good at relationships in the first month to 3 months. How many people are good for 3 to 30 years? It takes a different kind of person. It takes a different kind of thinking. So you always have to have that long-term vision, like talked about before, with that long-term goal of the major overall focus that you've got. You want to be doing that in every aspect of your life. What am I really looking for? And how does this goal tie into that overall theme for my life?
Yeah, last week on the episode, Dr. Tamara talked about how when you're entering burnout, a sign is that your mind and body are not in sync. She said your mind and body should both be tired at the same time. But if your body is tired and your mind isn't, or vice versa, then that's a major sign of burnout. I think that's so important for us to recognize because it can creep up really quickly. And the next tip that we have for you to keep that momentum and motivation going is to not do it all yourself. Learn to delegate tasks and ask for help when it's needed. You literally don't have to do everything yourself, and sometimes asking for help can actually help you get the things done more efficiently because you're not the master of all. You might be the jack of all trades, but master of none in this case. And it feels like we're supposed to do everything ourselves, especially if we're in entrepreneurship and we build our own brand or our own business. We think that it's all up to us. And I do understand a level of integrity that you have in your business, or a level of what's the right word? Like service, or like quality of service. Quality, that's the word I'm looking for. So I understand that it can be hard to delegate. Well, nobody is like me, or nobody can do those things like me. So find those things that nobody can do and focus your attention on that. Find the things in your business that are draining your energy, where you're like, oh, I hate doing the numbers, or oh, I don't like editing, or oh, this is really hard for me. Find people to build your funnels, people, okay? You don't have to do it all yourself. So give yourself permission to focus on your zone of genius and delegate what doesn't doesn't light you up fully, and give the opportunity to someone else so they can shine.
The other thing you might want to think about here too is delegating parts of your life that you have to make too many early morning decisions, or too many decisions earlier in your day that are going to take away from the energy you could give, the high output you could give to your other projects. This could be something as simple as what you're wearing that day. Like you could sit out and one day and plan for the week what you're going to wear. That way, every morning when you wake up, you don't have to make an extra decision. You can do meal prepping so that when you're at the point in your day when you've got to take a pause and eat, you're not having to go out and eat crappy foods that aren't good for you, that are overpriced. You don't have to come up with what meal is going to be next, which is a lot of reasons why a lot of people argue, which is crazy. I cannot tell you the amount of relationships that I know of that want to get a divorce simply because they can't stop arguing over what's for dinner. So take some of these smaller decisions that you have in your life, but that are repetitive, and make it so that you're not thinking about them all the time. Give yourself a little break here and put a little space in there. Another thing that you might want to think about is housekeeping. Do you want to work all week and then come and clean the house? Can you get a housekeeper? I know for us, this was something that was huge because we'd be exhausted by the weekend come, and then we had to spend all day, scrubbing the baseboards and stuff. No, we hired somebody, and hiring that person not only was amazing for us, it was amazing for them too. They want the job. They're out there trying to find new customers, and we happen to show up. Everybody's happy. Everybody's happy. So the next habit we want to talk about is to continuously learn and improve your skills so that you can stay ahead of a game. We know that, especially with technology now, the world is constantly changing. It's so important to stay up to date with the latest trends and the technologies and whatever is going on in your industry. What we find is that a lot of people stagnate. So especially if you get good at something, this is one of the biggest problems of people that are good out the gate, or people who spend a lot of time practicing one thing and they become perfect at it, is they don't try to improve anymore. And when your brain doesn't want to improve anymore, when you lack the motivation and the personality and the drive to improve, your brain stops caring. It says there's nothing in here that's of quality for me. And so you wonder why there's the job or the relationship or the parts of your life has become lifeless. And one of the big secrets in our relationship is that we're intimate with each other all the time. And I don't mean just in the bedroom. I mean holding hands. I mean me telling Britt that she's beautiful, me maybe buying something
Opening
for Britt.
the door.
Yeah, just really, really things that are super basic, but there's always life into it. I don't do that out of habit. I do that because I want to. Because every time I don't open the car door for her, but I do it enough. And so it's a conscious habit that I'm building in. And so I can think, oh, what is it in this moment that Britt needs from me? And I'm not asking it in so that she'll give me something in return. I'm just putting it out there like, how can I step up right now and show up as a husband? And what does she need in this moment? Those thoughts are constantly going through my head. And so when you set yourself up like that, you're always breathing more life into whatever you're doing because you're being intentional in the moment. And so when you're learning, when you're wanting to improve, when you're saying, I wonder if there's more stuff out there for me, when you start asking those kinds of questions, it's amazing what you're gifted with, not only in knowledge, but in the people that you'll meet who will come to explain it to you.
It's true. You're making learning fun. And when you decide what you're interested and curious about, like, you hold the reins here. And I think that's what's so important when you really boil it down. Because I'm over here thinking, like, what the hell was the topic again? Skyrocketing our goals. Like, well, what is the point of all this? And, it's really about getting clear on what you want and knowing that you're in the driver's seat of these goals. These goals are just something to entertain you along your journey while you're here. I mean, I think it's just so important for you to recognize that you hold that power and you get to decide, where you go and what you explore. And when you're constantly learning more and adapting, don't forget that you get to decide where you want to go with that. You get to decide what books you pick up and read.
The one caveat that I will say to this that I think needs to be brought up is the fact that do not use needing to learn more as an excuse for you to wait on actually doing action.
Oh my gosh.
So many people will try and get the next degree or the next certification. But the goal in all this stuff is to go help people. Help yourself live a good life and then go help other people and inspire them to live a good life. You do that by actually integrating and interfacing with people, with being upfront and personal and caring and putting your skills out there. None of that happens in the classroom.
Ooh, it's so true. I feel like people need to know step 100 before they take step 1 and have some fake certificate on the wall that builds confidence in, but it's a scam. Yes, learning is important, but you really learn by just taking fucking action. Get your hands dirty, learn a little. They say if you want to be a good photographer, take 10,000 photos, not learn more, right? You learn more through the action and the experience. And I think that's really important when it does come to skyrocketing your goals. We hit plateaus along the journey, and it's what you do in that plateau that keeps you going or has you feel like a quote failure, like, oh, I'm never going to get there, I'm never going to do it. And I think what's so important along that journey is to surround yourself with people that are positive and supportive. This is a massive tip. The people that you are around have a big impact on your mindset and motivation, so it's important to put yourself in the room with people who encourage you and dream big and hold space for you to dream big and challenge you on your bullshit and your beliefs when you're like, I think I need to learn more. No, I think you just need to start sharing. I think it's so important to be in the room with people who almost intimidate you so that you continue to push yourself past your limits.
Yeah, I love meeting people on the journey who are either multiple steps ahead of me or multiple steps behind me, because we're all going to lift each other up. The goal is to get around these kind of people, and when you have them in your vicinity, you almost always automatically know it. And what will end up happening is they will give you that extra boost. It's always, you can lean on these people who will go, you got this. I remember we were doing a workout. We were just starting to become CrossFit competitors. And we had one of the first I had no idea how grueling it was going to be. They asked us to be competitors. It wasn't something that we wanted to do. It was just hey, would you guys like to be on the team?
I just wanted to hang out with the people. I didn't know the kind of workout they were going to put us through.
So we get in this silly ass workout. I mean, it's been almost 10 years now since we've done.
Dead.
It's so we get into this first workout, and I'm feeling in my body like I've never felt before. I mean, it was so grueling and so intense. I definitely coughed up probably the mixture between blood and vomit a couple times. I mean, it was bad. It was bad. I can barely get oxygen to, I mean, and there's a guy sitting down behind me, and I'm thinking, I'm just going to toss in the towel. This is my first day. This sucked. I'm rolling out. And the guy during middle workout, he goes, Carmichael, you fucking got it. And that was enough. That was all I needed. It was so crazy because in that moment, suddenly I felt revitalized. It's like he just, with that sentence, shot me all of his energy. And suddenly I could breathe again. Suddenly my heart calmed down a little bit. Suddenly the vomit's gone back down into my stomach. I'm good now. I'm feeling okay. Like I can complete this. Like I can finish this. But it was only because of him. It was not something that I did. I'm thinking I'm dying. I'm like, dude, you're gonna have to take me to the hospital. I'm not gonna make it to the car. Come pick me up.
Rhabdo.
But his just little sentence, his just little belief, and that's why you have to surround yourself with people like this, is just that little ounce of belief. You know, so many of us make it because we're trying to prove somebody wrong. And while that is an okay way, if that gets you there, it sucks. It sucks to live like that. When you're around people who genuinely care about you succeeding, it's different. I mean, it is totally different. You walk different. You talk different. You take chances that you would never take. Where normally you would have been nervous. Normally you would have just known you were going to be a failure. Normally you'd have stepped away from the opportunity. Because those people are in your life and encouraging you, that's all you need. So find those people, nurture those relationships as much as you possibly can. Send them gifts, send them cards, let them know that they're appreciated, that they're important. Those people are so damn important in your life. They matter so much. So let's get into the 9th habit now. And this is something that Britt really touched on earlier, and that is to celebrate your successes and to learn from your failures. You have to remember that any time that you get out and do an action, there's a high probability you're going to fail. High probability.
Like 100%.
Like very high. I've said before, I hope for, like this is my hope. I hope that I fail 90% of the time. I hope. Because that means that 1 out of 10, I'm rocking it out of the park. And that's all you need. That's all you need to live a very amazing, successful life, one that like brings you joy and fulfillment. It's being able to fail 90% of the time and not give a shit about it.
And what is failure anyway? Like, if one aspect doesn't work out versus the whole, like we call ourselves a failure if one little portion doesn't work out, but like we never know the whole of the story. Yeah. Like, how do you know if you've actually failed? What does that mean?
And it's crazy too, because when I get excited about stuff, when I get a lot of energy, I mumble. I mean, the words are going through my head so fast that I can't say them fast. I have to consciously always slow myself down. I mumble. I say the wrong word sometimes because I'm still on the train of thought. Britt has to come in and cover for me a lot. But so what? So if I never say anything, no one would ever hear anything. And so it's so important that you just get out of your own way. You're going to have things that come up like that. You're going to have feelings that come up like that. You're going to be afraid sometimes. You're going to be scared. You're going to not know what to do or what to say. So what? Still get in there and do it anyway. Like there's a reason why you're here learning this stuff so that you can help people. So help them. Help them. You only can do that if you will move out of your way for a minute. And you really start to do that once you also begin to celebrate yourself. So it's not only about learning from the failure so that you can continuously improve, which is the best school, but it's also when you do hit a success, celebrate that. Don't just brush it off. Be like, damn, we worked on that. When we do a launch, when we have a product that's coming out and we do a launch and we nail it, even if one person buys it, it's a celebration. It's such a celebration because someone's going to get benefited. We only want to create stuff that benefits people. And so knowing that someone's going to get benefit from it, that we're going to make a little jingle on the side, that we're here fulfilling what we're doing, we're in an amazing exchange, like that's something that can start to light you up. So make sure you're just as much as you are harping on the failures so that you can improve yourself, not so you can criticize yourself, but so you can improve yourself. You got to harp on the successes as well, because they often don't come as much as you'd want them to. So the second that they're there, hit them hard, celebrate, hoorah.
I know. Celebrate the failures too, because you can never fail if you learn a lesson, right? Speaking of failures, that leads us to our last tip, and that is to practice persistence and perseverance, even in the face of challenges and setbacks. We've just talked about how 100% guaranteed there's going to be an aspect somewhere along the way where you feel like a failure, or you feel like you've hit a roadblock or a limitation. You feel like you can't break through. But the truth is, you're always going to persevere. You're always going to find a way. You'll always find a solution to any challenge as long as you don't give up. I would say giving up is what I would deem failing.
You know, and if you want to get good at this, if you want to get good at perseverance, get really passionate about yourself and your life and where you're going. Like, you have to wake up and self-motivate. If you're constantly like, well, I just don't feel motivated today, so I just don't think I'm going to do anything. Why do you need motivation? What really comes in is that you need discipline. There needs to be a discipline set in, and that discipline comes from the passion that you have for where you're going. Because a lot of days, I don't feel like it. There's a lot of times I just don't feel like it.
A lot of the days I'm more passionate about just chilling and hanging out with you than I am about, doing the things.
And I love that.
I do too.
I love that about us. And so that there's an extreme balance. If you're feeling that all the time and you don't like the work at all, that's
a problem.
You're reaching into trouble territory. But if you're constantly doing that just because, like, I don't know. I'm just, I'll write that eventually. I'll do that eventually. You won't. It won't. I mean, you just keep putting it off. And so what are you doing is you're telegraphing to your subconscious mind. You're saying, like, hey, it's not important. It's not important because I'm not motivated about it. I'm not jazzed up about the work that I have to put in to do this. And so that's when we have to go back and look at your goals and say, are these goals that I really want? Is the work too much that I'm willing to do for that? There's a lot of things that I don't want to do. There's a lot of things when we look at new businesses, new careers, new opportunities and stuff, I'm always asking, what's the time commitment? How much do I have to spend on this every day, every week? Like, what am I really going to be putting in? How much extra work am I going to lay on my shoulders now? And so it's really important when you're sitting down for your goals, when you're getting that clarity, that you are honest with yourself.
See the end in mind.
And especially the trick I always do is I try to find somebody who's already doing it. Like whenever I got into bodybuilding early on, whenever I was a bodybuilder, I went and looked at what the bodybuilders were doing. And I thought, damn, that is a lot. I have to do a lot of different things there. Like, this is more complicated than I thought it would be. Maybe I just want to be athletic. Maybe I just want to run a little faster and lift a little bit more weights. And so it brings the balance. It brings the honesty to it, because some of the people who are at the very top levels of their industry, of their sport, of their skill, they work nonstop all the damn time. And so you have to decide, is that right for you? And if it's not, that is always okay. Figure out what the balance is. But it's all about putting this all in perspective. It's all about setting ourselves up with the correct habits from the beginning. If you'll dial into these habits that we've laid out, you're going to be way more productive. You're going to hit way more goals than you ever dreamed of. And it'll be a lot easier. It's because of the support system that you have. It's because of getting rid of the distractions. It's because of the time blocks. It's dialing all that down into a system that you have for yourself and deciding, like, this is what I want for my life, and I'm going to be really damn excited about it, even if not very many people are on board with me.
7 or above club, baby.
Boom.
What's up? Let us know how you enjoyed this episode by tagging us at the Elevated Life Club. Until then, we'll catch you next week.
Peace.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Elevated Life podcast. If you loved this episode, please share that love by leaving us a 5-star review and spreading the good vibes on social. You can tag us at the Elevated Life Club. Want more wisdom from us? Become an elevator by joining us inside our monthly membership club at theelevatedlifeclub.com to discover mindset upgrades, lifestyle hacks, and spiritual tools to elevate your soul.
Each month features a live group coaching masterclass, guided meditations, yoga practice, and more to help you transform your life one step at a time.
It has all the tools, coaching, and community you need to level up, progress every month, and keep going in every area of your life consistently over the long term.
Join us in the club and start your transformation today by signing up at theelevatedlifeclub.com.